Dear Mr. Rara Knox, your Mensa IQ test has been marked. I've always thought I was fairly intelligent. I remember at primary school we did an IQ test and I did quite well in it, and then I got taken out of normal lessons every now and then and put in these special lessons for bright kids, which I just found annoying at the time because everyone else was making paper mache planets and I really enjoyed planets, and I ended up having to go out the planet making lesson and just sit in the staff room of the school and do extra work, which wasn't great. But since then, the only real intelligent test sort of things I've done have been those weird clickbaity things you find on Facebook. Now as an adult, you don't really encounter IQ tests very much, I've found out. But I tell you who loves an IQ test, and that is Mensa. Mensa's the high IQ society. They were quite a big thing in the 80s. It used to be quite popular sort of 80s bants to say if someone did something stupid, oh, you won't be joining Mensa or something. Bants wasn't as sophisticated now as it is in the modern day, but that was quite a common thing to say. I've always been curious as to whether or not I do have a particularly high IQ, so I thought I'd book myself in for a Mensa IQ test so we can discover, once and for all, if I'm a genius or an absolute simpleton. So what is an IQ test? I had a look on Wikipedia to find out. It turns out IQ stands for intelligence quotient. And it's basically a way of trying to measure mental agility. Now obviously intelligence means lots of different things to lots of different people. There's things like emotional intelligence, but this is very specifically is working out how quickly your brain works. It's not testing memory, it's not testing wisdom or knowledge or anything emotional or that. It's literally just testing the speed at which you can make your brain do things. While we're talking about intelligence, do you know the one trait that psychologists believe all intelligent people share? It's that they buy their beer from our sponsor, Beerhawk. Beerhawk is the UK's leading online craft beer shop and has thousands of beers available, all sourced from around the world. They offer free delivery. If you spend £50, you can get the best craft beer on the market brought to your front door by a delivery man or woman. Now, because I look out for my viewers, I called up the actual hawk who runs Beerhawk, called Lothar, and said, hey, Lothar, any chance I could get a discount for my viewers? And Lothar said, yes! That's like hawk for yes. So if you click the link in the description and use the code Robbie10 at the checkout, you're going to get 10% off your beer order. Hooray! Now, personally, I'd use my discount to get one of their Oktoberfest themed cases that comes with this. Your very own Stein. You can have your own Oktoberfest party at home like I'm having now, whilst making a video on my own. Prost! The other good thing about Beerhawk is they dish out these things called beer tokens whenever you buy from them, which means you get free ale down the line. Now that's something you don't have to be in Mensa to know is a good deal. Thanks for sponsoring the video, Beerhawk. Now let's get on with finding out whether I'm clever or not clever. There's a lot of different standardised IQ tests that have been created over the years, and as a result, the number score you get in them doesn't really mean anything on its own. When people say I've got an IQ of 140, it doesn't mean anything unless you know what test that was in. For example, and it could be in one test 130 is a higher standard than 150 in another test. They're all very different. For that reason, psychologists tend to convert these into percentages of the population. So you might say you've got a score of 140 in a certain IQ test, but that translates as you being in the top 5% of the UK population. So that's how it tends to work. Mensa requires you to be in the top 2% of the population, so I've got my work cut out if I'm going to manage to get in. Now an IQ test is taken in a standardised, sort of controlled situation, timed and all that, with all sort of invigilators and everything, so you can't just do one online and get an accurate score. However, Mensa do allow you to pay an amount of money, I'll put it down there, I think it might be 25 quid, to go along to one of their test centres, take a couple of tests, supervised, and find out how you've done, which is exactly what I did. So I'm on my way now to my IQ test. It's in Putney, down by the river. Here, very pleasant. Just suddenly thought that I might do badly in it, because obviously I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think there was a chance I'd do all right. But then, like, what if I'm like really simple? Not really thought that through, but we'll give it a go. If you do two tests, I think they have sort of different styles. One's more sort of verbal reasoning and the other one's a bit different or something, I'm not sure, but we'll report back after we've done it, or at least after the first one, and see how it goes. Oh, that was bright. So I've just come out the test. If you ever want to feel really, really stupid, do one of those, because some bits of it are so hard. I didn't even understand what the question was in some parts, but it makes sense, because if they're trying to get a range of intelligences, there's got to be ones that you can't do. There's quite a lot I couldn't do, and I'm not feeling hugely confident now. There were two different tests. The first one was all sort of wordy. Is that verbal? Is that what it means? It was meanings of words and synonyms and opposites and stuff like that, which is a bit of a weird one because you have to have a good understanding of the English language for that. So if English wasn't your first language, it wouldn't really be fair. But the second one had no words, it was just symbols and stuff. And that was a much more rapid fire one. The first one took about an hour and a half, the second one took 30 minutes. So the idea is that if you struggle with one, you might pass on the other one. But anyway, you've got to get in the top 2% to get into Mensa. I'm not massively confident now, if I'm honest. I didn't think it would be quite that bad, but I do feel fairly stupid doing it. It was a bit of a mess. At one point, the invigilator said there was only a minute left. I went and just guessed, because it's multiple choice, you might as well guess. For about 5 answers, they went, oh sorry, 35 seconds left. So I was like, well, I could have changed all those, couldn't I? But yeah, see how that goes. The people were a mix of ages, ethnicities, genders, no real sort of thing that unified them all. It's a bit weird. I'm not quite sure why you'd want to join the club. I can see why you'd want to find out your IQ, and I can see why you'd want to join the club to make fun of your friends, which is basically my reasoning, and to win arguments. But I don't know why you actually want to hang around with just intelligent people. It's weird, really weird. So what is Mensa? Mensa was founded in England in 1946. There's a few different Mensas around the world depending on where you live, and it's got 3 main objectives, which I'm now going to read off of my computer. It aims to provide a stimulating intellectual and social environment for its members, to identify and foster human intelligence for the benefit of humanity, and to encourage research into the nature, characteristics and uses of intelligence. Once you're in Mensa, you can go along to their events, you can go to talks and things like that. They have a thing every year, I think in Cambridge, that you can go along to, like a sort of general festival of intelligence or something. And you can also join special interest groups. You can go do things like rock climbing with people in the top 2% of intelligence. I'm not sure why you'd need that for rock climbing, but it's there if you want it. I should stress again that I have no interest in actually being in Mensa for the sake of any of these reasons. My only interest in being in Mensa is so I could annoy my friends, torment them a bit, argue with people in the comments of YouTube videos, just stuff like that. Just generally have that in your back pocket at all times to pull out to not necessarily win an argument, but annoy the other person in an argument. That's what I'm all about. So a couple of weeks after I'd done my Mensa test, I got an email through the internet. I got an email, and in it, well, this is what it said. Right, I am at home and I've just received an email from Mensa with a letter attached. So I'm going to open that up now and have a look at what we've got here and see what it says. Dear Mr. Knox, your Mensa IQ test has been marked, and I'm delighted to inform you that your results are Ketel 3 B scale. This was the verbal one. I scored 150, which puts me in the top 2% of the country, and the culture fair scale, which was the non-verbal one with just symbols, 137, which puts me in the top 1% of the country. A score within the top 2% on either scale is required for Mensa membership. We are therefore pleased to invite you to become a member of Mensa, the High IQ Society. So it turns out I'm a genius, essentially. Wow, I wasn't, not sure, didn't necessarily expect this, as I said. I've always been sort of quite look down on the sort of the 1% and all that when it's talked about in the news and all that, but now I've discovered I'm part of the 1%. I quite like it. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. I can't wait to talk about my friends. So yeah, I got in. So as a 1%er, I decided to splash out the £54.95 a year it costs to join Mensa. Seems a little bit punchy, and applied. Partly because they said you get a free certificate with it saying you're in Mensa, and that would be quite good to have that, a photo of that I could send to anyone on Twitter that questions me on things, stuff like that. But the drawback is, because of COVID and that, and their offices being closed, they can't actually send out certificates and the membership packs and all that, so I don't fully get to see what that looks like. What I do get to see, however, here is Mensa Magazine, which I'm now going to open for the first time. We can have a look and see what sort of things are going on in the world of Mensa. So here we are at the front of the magazine of the October edition. We've got Walk on the Wild Side with Brad the Great Explorer, don't know who he is, Life in Lockdown, Fact and Fiction, and Time to Stop Mocking the Not Quite So Bright. That's a blow. I've only just joined Mensa. I want to have a week of mocking the Not Quite So Bright, and by that I mean my friends. But I'll listen to the article. Also, inside Searching for Truth in the Transgender Controversy. So, not afraid to attack the big issues here. As you get inside, there's you can win some astronomy binoculars, some exclusive gifts, and then you're into the magazine. So there's an article here called Mentoring During Lockdown. It says the Mensa mentoring program, which brings young people together with wise heads, has proven particularly useful during the recent lockdown. It's about a program to find teenage Mensans and adult mentor to help them navigate some of the specific minefields a high IQ can bring. As someone in the 1%, I've not really experienced any minefields, but I imagine this is for people who are properly intelligent, not just even top 0.5% maybe. There's a letters page talking about IQ-y stuff, an obituary for someone, a bit of stuff about junior Mensa for the young'uns. Homer Simpson. So that shows my level in Mensa, doesn't it? I get excited by Homer. So it's the article about not mocking people based on their intelligence. It all seems quite sensible, just generally saying be nice, not judgmental and things. That's quite good. A few other pages, international Mensa stuff from different Mensas around the world, special interest groups, gay, lesbian and Mensan. That's little niche groups there. There's pub crawls advertised. There's think-ins where you meet up to think about stuff. Mystery walks. Lots of different events and things that you can do if you want to hang around with your fellow Mensans. I think there probably was a time when Mensa had a benefit. I think if you were maybe a kid growing up in a family or a community that didn't value intelligence, or you weren't being challenged, I can see why in the 80s or so you might want to connect with other people who shared your sort of intellect. I can't even speak, like the 1%. But since then the internet's come along, and I'm not really sure there's really any need for this. I mean, it does feel a bit like a sort of dying organisation, or at least past its prime. I mean, if you look at they've got the different regional Mensas, and if you go on the website there and have a little look at the different things, a lot of the things are saying things like position vacant, position vacant, position vacant, in all the different roles on the committees and stuff like that. So I feel maybe Mensa's had its day, because you can, as I say, you can connect with whoever on the internet now, can't you? You don't have to join a club to find people much more intelligent than you. Now, none of this really matters to me. I'm just going to wait for my certificate to come through, take a few photos with it, and then probably cancel my direct debit. I've got no interest in actually being a Mensa, but good luck to people who are. I hope they enjoy it. I mean, if you are interested in doing an IQ test, then I'll put a link down below for how you can sign up for Mensa. And I did quite enjoy doing it. It was. I'm glad I did the test. I've also realised that some of you, now that I know that I'm a genius, some of you might not have been able to keep up with me before. I've used big words that you don't understand or other things because I'm so elite. So if that's a problem, just let me know in the comments if you want me to talk more slowly for you so you can keep up. That's absolutely no problem. This is going to be fun. Anyway, thanks for watching. Drop a like, although I imagine there'll be more dislikes on this video because you're all envious of me. But do that. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon, probably with my brand new invention or something.